All right, welcome. So removing instant gratification. This video is all about removing the instant gratification activities, how to do that, and then what you can actually replace those activities with. So if you guys want to completely transform your lives through self-improvement, you can go ahead and click the link in the description to join my coaching program. I'll coach you guys one-on-one on how you guys can actually begin your self-improvement journey, completely cut out and remove all of the bad habits and replace them with the good habits. All right, so if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and check out the links in the description. Top one is so you can book a call with me where we'll discuss the coaching program and see if you're a good fit. And then if you'd like to DM me instead, you can go and click that second link to DM me on Instagram if you're more comfortable with that. So how to actually remove instant gratification. So how I removed instant gratification from my life and how I stopped giving into the cravings and the desires for instant gratification, right? And eventually you get to a point where you stop even craving these things, or you stop even desiring these things, but how you actually remove them in the first place is the difficult part. So when I started my self-improvement journey, that's when I realized I had to remove these habits. I never knew these were a bad thing before, right? I never thought these were bad for me. And then I realized how bad they actually were. And that's when I actually started to change, right? That's when I started to remove them. The first thing that I removed was all types of social media. I was able to just take the apps off my phone, and that was pretty much good enough for me. I didn't need to do much other than that. But it was some of the other addictions that were a lot harder. And the way that I removed those was by actually just going and applying myself to other activities, other goals, other desires, and other activities, right? Finding other things to do, finding real work to do, finding new habits, right? Finding new habits that were actually enjoyable, but also good for me, allowed me to more easily transition off of the other addictions, right? It allowed me to enter a state where I was already enjoying life, already enjoying the activities I was doing. And so it was easy for me to then cut out all of the activities that were simply just harming me on my goals and on my pursuit towards them. So defining instant gratification. Instant gratification is seeking pleasure at the cost of your future self, right? It is simply indulging now at the cost of your future self, not your current self, right? As opposed to its opposite, delayed gratification, where that is allowing yourself to feel some pain and discomfort now, right? The cost is upfront, but in the future you will be rewarded, right? So you don't get the reward now, your future self gets the reward. Meanwhile, you are stuck with the cost, right? You are stuck paying the price. It's like your dad when he takes you out to dinner, but he doesn't want anything, right? He's stuck with the bill. He doesn't get shit, right? But in the future, his kids, if they're good, right? If they're the right types of kids, in my opinion, they will support him. They will go and take him out to dinner, right? They will go and support his lifestyle because he's taking care of them their whole lives, right? That's just one example, right? The other example is exercise. If you go to the gym, it might hurt and be uncomfortable right now, but then next week, next month, and in the next year, you will not only feel better, but you also start to look better, right? So the reason it's so bad is because A, you can't see the cost of it, right? It is a trick, right? The pleasure itself is a trick. It isn't actually enjoyable. It isn't actually pleasurable, right? It makes your life worse. It's a trick, but you don't see the cost. You just see the trick. You just see the mask that it wears, which is the pleasure, right? But one of the reasons it's so bad is because you don't see the cost. You don't know what the cost will actually be in a lot of the cases, unless you've already experienced it. Then you do know the cost, right? But the other thing is that it can compound very quickly, right? It can compound in the background as well. So if you're indulging in instant gratification, you're not going to know that you're doing bad yet, right? You're not going to know that it's causing you this damage until you've built it up over the course of a year, over 2 years, 3 years. And at this point, it's harder to stop, right? Because you've created an addiction, you've created a sense of familiarity to doing the thing. So now you're kind of stuck in the sense that you have built up these years of this bad habit, and now all of the negatives are starting to hit you, right? But you have years worth of thinking that you were doing good, right? And then all of a sudden, all of the consequences of the bad actions that you've been taking hit you, right? And so the only way to overcome this is by starting to take the good actions so that in the future again, right, another year, 2 years down the line, then you get the benefits and the rewards of now having taken the good actions. So how to remove it? First, just determine what habit you need to remove. So determine what habit it is that actually needs to go, whether that's weed, porn, junk food, social media, any other types of sexual indulgence, right? If it's bad friends, whatever it is, right? Determine what the actual habit is that needs to go. What is the instant gratification habit that you are giving into? Which one needs to go? Now determine why you do it, right? Determine what reason you actually have for doing it. Because A, this is probably valid, but B, it gives you an understanding of what habits you will need to replace it with, right? So determine why you do it. Why do you do the thing? Is it because it's comfortable? Is it because it's enjoyable? Is it because it gives you a sense of achievement? Is it because you feel like you're learning, right? If it's like social media or something. Is it because it makes you feel good about yourself? Determine why, because that will also determine what habit would help you to overcome that. So if it's like, I don't feel good enough about myself, so I do this habit to make myself feel better, well, do something that'll actually make you feel good about yourself, right? Do something that would make you proud of yourself. Go and work out. Go and hit a workout, right? Because that will start to make you feel better about who you are. And that better self-image will then make it easier to then keep doing the delayed gratification, right? But also it gives you the opportunity to then say, oh, exercise is the perfect habit to do instead, because exercise will actually make me feel better about myself if I do it for long enough. So then find the habit to replace the old one with, right? So if it's learning, let's say, read instead, or watch courses, right? Watch content that will actually educate you instead of scrolling on TikTok because it feels like you're learning, right? Because you're not actually learning. You're not giving enough attention to the information to solidify any of it. So you're not learning anything, but you feel like you're learning. So then replace it with actually going and learning. That's the key. Right, so whatever the habit is, determine why you do it, and then determine what habit would be a good replacement habit for it. Then the next thing is the less instant gratification you do, the easier it will be. So this one isn't really a step, but it's just a mindset. The less you do, the easier it will be. So if you do absolutely no instant gratification and you're all delayed gratification, well, congratulations. Your life is way easier than the person who does his work all day long and then at the end of the day does an hour of video games, right? His life is harder because of that hour of video games. Even if it's right at the end of the day, he feels like he's being productive, he feels like he's on point, and now it's the end of the day, I'm not going to do anything anyways, so I might as well just go and play some games. Well, the problem with that is that's also going to cost him at some point. He's going to make slower progress because of that. His momentum's going to be slowed, and he's going to be slightly distracted. He's going to be more inclined to go for other instant gratification activities as well because he's already indulging in that dopamine up front, right? So the more stimulating activities you're getting dopamine from, the more you're going to seek out more stimulation, right? So the more you're going to seek out stimulation because of the fact that that's what you're now accustomed to. When you're accustomed to those big spikes of dopamine, that's what you seek out. And so it's way easier for you if you choose one or the other. You can split it up so that you have balance, but it is a lot easier if you don't. It is a lot easier if you just do one or the other. And the reason why anyone would have balance is because they actually want the instant gratification, but the instant gratification doesn't pay the bills. So they have to work and then do the instant gratification. But at least acknowledge that that's how you'd like to live. But if you would like to remove instant gratification and focus on delayed gratification instead, it's easier if you remove all of them. And obviously, step by step is the best way to do this, right? You don't just remove them all at once. But that could be an option, and it might make it a lot easier for you to do so. But the most effective way to do it would be to remove one at a time. Remove one, and then the other, and then the next, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to go over 4 essential habits that you can actually use in place of instant gratification. So the first one is exercise. Exercise is the most important. It is the cornerstone to all self-improvement journeys, right? Because if you start with exercise, everything else kind of compounds on top of it, right? You start to naturally add on other pieces when you're exercising regularly. So exercise is the first step, right? That'll get you active, get you moving, get you feeling a lot better. And then that feeling better will allow you to then do more of the good habits. Next step is reading. Or next habit, rather, is reading. Because then reading, you can learn more, right? You can go and read on dopamine if you want to. You can go and learn more about whatever you're struggling with, really. But just reading and learning gives you another habit, another form of content consumption than going on TikTok or going on YouTube. And this form of content consumption is less stimulating and therefore doesn't damage the dopamine receptors in your brain. And so it's a good replacement for any type of social media use, right? And reading itself is just a good activity. It's something to get you, it's a good calming, relaxing activity to do at like the end of the day, for example, instead of going and watching TV or playing a video game. Next one is meditation. So with meditation, we will learn focus, we will learn presence, and this presence will make it easier for us to avoid stimulation and resist that desire for stimulation in the future. So when we are meditating, we have awareness of our mind and we have the ability to control our attention. And so therefore, when we notice that we are getting stuck up on our addictions, we can redirect our focus, redirect our attention back to the present moment, back to what's actually important. So the last habit that I have is journaling. So journaling will give us an outlet for our thoughts. We will be able to get our thoughts onto paper. We will be able to clearly process information because we're able to write it all down. And it's just a fun habit to do, right? In my opinion, it's just a fun habit to do, right? It's just nice to journal every once in a while. And I would much prefer that than going on my phone every once in a while, right? You journal, and then not only will that help clear your mind so then you're better at work when you go back, but you also will stay focused on your work because typically if you're journaling, you're going to be writing about your goals, you're going to be writing about your day, you're going to be writing about whatever. So not always, but typically that can relate back to your goals anyway. So it keeps your focus on your goals, but it also, by processing all of this, makes you better at the work itself when you do go back to it. So those are all the habits that I have for you guys, and that is the video. So if you guys enjoyed, go ahead and click the subscribe button, go ahead and click the like button. And if you guys want to transform your lives through self-improvement, you can go ahead and work with me in the description below. But aside from that, that's all I got for you guys, and I'm out of here. Peace.